Rudy Giuliani has now been accused of groping a woman's breasts and sticking his hands up her skirt. It is just getting worse and worse for Rudy Giuliani. First, he completely humiliates himself through his support of Donald Trump and pursuing bogus voter fraud claims. He then pursues those bogus claims in hearings of different kinds, has uncontrollable public farting episodes, and then potentially even becomes the first person to transmit COVID by flatulence to Jenna Ellis, which is a medical wonder that we will have to leave to the doctors to figure out. Then he puts his law license at risk and I think even gets disbarred in some places. Then Rudy Giuliani gets criminally charged. Then he doesn't pay his lawyers. His lawyers sue him for almost $1.4 million in unpaid legal fees. And now he is accused of groping Cassidy Hutchinson. That's the person that is in question here. Cassidy Hutchinson is the same former Trump staffer who testified under oath that Trump lunged at a Secret Service agent and was furious that they wouldn't take him to the riots or whatever else the case may be. Here's a report from The Guardian. Okay, this is wacky stuff. Ex-Trump aide Cassidy Hutchinson claims Rudy Giuliani groped her on January 6th. She describes Rudy like a wolf closing in on its prey on the day of the January 6th riots. Describing meeting with Giuliani backstage at Trump's speech near the White House before his supporters marched on Congress to try to overturn the 2020 election. So this was on the day of the Trump riots. Hutchinson says the former New York mayor turned Trump lawyer put his hand under my blazer, then my skirt. This is vile. I feel his frozen fingers trail up my thigh. He tilts his chin up. The whites of his eyes look jaundiced. My eyes dart to Trump advisor John Eastman, who flashes a leering grin. This is tough to read. I fight against the tension in my muscles and recoil from Rudy's grip. Filled with rage, I storm through the tent on yet another quest for Mark, seemingly referring to Mark Meadows. These are extraordinarily disgusting allegations, which, if true, I mean, listen, at this point, what's Rudy's defense? I was wasted at the time. Should we expect him to try that? Rudy Giuliani's drinking issues, a well-known subject of concern among Trump staffers in terms of the timing of Rudy Giuliani's public appearances and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, these are extremely unsurprising allegations. And the only, do I even need to do my normal caveats? Allegations are not evidence, certainly not of guilt in a court of law alone. You have to adjudicate things. Is there even the allegation that this is going to become a criminal complaint? We have no idea. This is what someone says happened. But remember when I said at the end of Trump's term, it is going to take years for us to learn the full story of what happened in the Trump administration. It turns out that we were right. Now, I'm not immune to the reality that the timing of us learning about many of these things is when people have a book to sell. Cassidy Hutchinson has a forthcoming book, and she opted to include these details in the book rather than to mention them earlier, which is absolutely her right to do. But it certainly will raise questions from some about whether this is all at least timed. Not that she's necessarily making up the allegations, but that it is timed just to make her the most money that is possibly going to be made. Horrifying and disgusting allegations about a guy who, when I hear it, I don't go, no, Rudy could absolutely never happen. There's no way, Rudy, no, could never be. It's sort of like, oh yeah, that could absolutely be something that Rudy Giuliani did. So the latest series of allegations against Rudy, building on allegations that he asked for money in exchange for pardons. Remember when we interviewed John Kiriakou on the show about that? And it's just an endless list for a guy who has truly suffered quite a fall from grace. By the way, I said yesterday or the day before, I feel a little bit bad for Rudy Giuliani about some things, not about this. You grope someone and put your hand up their skirt. That's just, you just messed up. You did something that is likely criminal, and I don't feel any empathy for him on that. But on some of these other things, I said something tickles my empathy nerve with Rudy. Half of the people who wrote to me said, David, I feel the same way. There's something about Rudy as a sad character. The other half said, David, no, I don't feel even an iota of empathy for Rudy. He's terrible. He did this all to himself, period. So the audience divided on any level of empathy for Rudy Giuliani. I'm experiencing zero empathy on the basis of these latest allegations from Cassidy Hutchinson.